Ba-ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Doodle Bible School. That's where we take some doodling and some Bible and we kind of put it in the school setting and then we have fun with it and it's really great. And I got to shine my glasses because I can't see who you are. It's good to see you guys this morning. Did you have a good week? Well, I did too. You know what the Lord's Day is? First day of the week. That means that we're starting a new week right now with Doodle Bible School. All right, folks, we are declaring Deuteronomy. My computer's a little slow this morning. I'm not sure what's up with that. It's fall, leaves are falling. It's not really all that cold outside, but it's not wanting to cooperate, kind of sluggish. Moses says, let's review because that's basically what Deuteronomy is all about, review. Anyhow, we might as well review while we're talking about review. So to do the doodle, let's begin with review. All right, guys, get out your doodle-laters and your doodle-a-dees, and we'll see if you can draw with me's. All right, we're going to be into chapters, wait for it, 19 through 25. We're going to cover a big section here. I know, but this was when I was putting this together earlier. I was thinking about how in the world do I get it all in one semester? And when I got to this section, I said, well, that's a big chunk of it right there. 19 through 25 is really, it's just a bunch of laws that have to do with protection. We'll deal again with the cities of refuge. We'll talk about women and how they should be protected, slaves, how they should be protected. It's a really interesting series of passages. But they all seem to be about this idea of protection. And so I'm not going to be able to cover too much of it in order to kind of summarize, but I encourage you to read all of it, 19 through 25. Really good stuff. All right, guys, it's not really hard here. What we're going to do is we're going to draw us an umbrella. That's not too bad. And then you got your thing here. You can even put a loop on it if you want. I noticed Gabriel didn't put a loop on his. I don't know why he didn't do that, but he should have, shouldn't he? Anyhow, and then, now I got to do this way so I don't get it wrong, okay? I'm sorry, but if I did it the other way, I would get my numbers upside down. All right, so here's 19. We'll color this in, just that much of the pole will be colored in so you get the 19. Can you guys see it? Yeah, so 19 through 25. And the umbrella is supposed to represent the idea of, no, you don't do it that way, Sonny. You go this way. Start there, there, and there. I think that's what, yeah, that's not too bad. But it's umbrella, protection, from the rain. You need to do raindrops if you want to. But you see how it's protecting it? I thought that was pretty good. 19 through 25 is laws about protection. Laws of protection. So can you remember that? I know that I can because I'm really smart. That may be the best joke of the day. 19 through 25, moving on. All right, so if I were going to ask you a couple questions about segment number 1, that's the doodle part, my questions would be these. What is the theme of Deuteronomy 19 through 25? Laws of protection. And can you doodle the picture? It's just an umbrella with a 9-25. And the umbrella is the 1, right, for the 19. So there you go. Very good. All right, let's have a frog funny. The frog's funny is this. What is the scariest kind of horse? I've been around some horses, not a lot, but I've been around some horses. As a matter of fact, I got thrown by a horse when I was very young, and it scared the life out of me. And they're big animals, and so I've always kind of shied away from horses, that kind of thing. But horses are big, gentle creatures, generally speaking. But I suppose you could find a scary horse somewhere. Anyhow, that's the joke. What is the scariest kind of horse? Have you guessed it? What is the scariest kind of horse? Well, it's a nightmare, of course. A nightmare, a mare. Oh dear, Mr. Frog, you might want to work on that one. All right, now it's time to exercise our brains, and we'll make a memory. And so, in so doing, we choose a verse. Now, again, we're dealing with 19, 20, 21, to 2, to 3, to 4, to 5. We're dealing with 7 chapters here, so I had a lot of material to work with. But none of them just actually none of the verses just actually came out and said this idea that, these are laws of protection. And so I had to kind of use, anyhow, you'll see. So here's the verse that we're going to use for our memory verse today, okay, in order for us to memorize the whole theme, if you will, of 19 through 25. Only on the evidence of 2 witnesses or of 3 witnesses shall a charge be established. This is during a section of these passages where he's talking about the laws of the land. And what if one person says another person did a bad thing? How do you prove that? Well, you got to have more than one witness. You can't just have one person say it. You got to have more than one witness, okay? And so we're protecting everybody involved here, all right? So it's one of those laws of protection. That's Deuteronomy 19. You might notice that it's 15b. That's what you do whenever you're saying part of the verse. So we're just doing the last section of the verse. 19, 15b, the last part of the verse. So he says, say it 5 times. Only on the evidence, only on the evidence, only on the evidence, only on the evidence, only on the evidence. So there, we said it 5 times. Of 2 witnesses. Of 2 witnesses, 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 only on the evidence of 2 witnesses. See, you already got the first 2 lines. And then if you don't have a brain big enough to remember it that way, and I'm sure you do, but I don't, you might have to do this second drill, and that is leave blanks. Only on the evidence of 2 witnesses. See, even an old man can get it. All right, guys. So if I'm going to ask you a couple questions about segment number 2, these are the questions that I would ask. What is the minimum number? That means the lowest number possible. What is the minimum number of witnesses necessary for a charge to be established? Can you quote the memory verse? No. but we're working on it, so be patient. All right, here's a doggy joke. What? Why? Why do you have to keep your eyes open when you eat fish? I didn't know that. Although I got to be honest with you, I don't know that I've ever tried to eat fish with my eyes closed. Have you? I mean, think about it. Why would you go to a fish restaurant and eat with your eyes closed? That don't make sense. Why do you have to keep your eyes open when you eat fish? Because it's seafood. Fish is seafood. Question. If the fish only lives in a river, is it really seafood? Because a river is not really a sea, right? Gotcha. Didn't I? What if a fish only lives in a pond? A pond's not a sea. Gotcha. Anyhow, we're making too much of that. Probably thinking too hard or overthinking that, my wife would say. And so let's just review the joke and be fun with it. Why do you have to keep your eyes open when you eat fish? Because it's seafood. I think that's funny. Do you think it's funny? Well, good. All right, ponder passage. That's where we're going to sit by the sea and go fishing. Except I think he's in a river. Yeah, see, he's fishing in the Jordan River. That's not even a sea. I don't know why I did that. All right, guys, pondering a passage. Here is the passage we will ponder as Moses comes dancing onto the screen, thinking about the little clue that's supposed to remind him of chapters 19 through 25. I'm not sure why he's got to remember all these, because he's the guy who's saying it. But that's just the way I've got it designed, so just don't be critical. All right, Deuteronomy 19, beginning at verse 15. A single witness shall not suffice. The word suffice means that's not enough. So you can't have just one guy. So I mean, you think about how that would work out. One guy doesn't like another guy, so he just makes up something. That guy over there stole some food. And it's not even true. You got to be able to prove it. And in order to prove it, you've got to have at least 2 witnesses, right? So a single witness is not enough against a person for any crime or any wrong in connection with an offense that has been committed. Only on the evidence of 2 witnesses or of 3 witnesses shall a charge be established. Yes, that is our memory verse. Verse 16. If a malicious witness arises to accuse a person of wrongdoing, so that's somebody who's not very nice, they're malicious, then both parties to the dispute shall appear before the Lord. So what happens if a malicious person says, hey, he stole a loaf of bread? Well, then they have to both go and appear before the Lord. And he says, before the priests and the judges who are in office in those days. I think we covered that last time. So you got to go to a priest, somebody's a Levite, and one of the judges, okay? But notice what the judge is going to do, verse 18. The judges shall inquire diligently, and if the witness, so they're like investigators. The judges are supposed to go out and look into the matter and see who's telling the truth and, what is the evidence, okay? And if the witness is a false witness and has accused his brother falsely, guess what happens? So he's made this whole thing up. My brother sold a loaf of bread, but it's not true. Guess what's going to happen? Then you should do to him as he meant to do to his brother. So if the bad guy makes up a lie and he says he stole a loaf of bread and so he ought to go to jail, but it's determined that he was really lying, he didn't steal a loaf of bread, then that guy who made it up, he's got to go to jail. Ooh, that would keep people from making up bad stuff, wouldn't it? Yeah. All right, on down in verse 19. So you shall purge the evil from your midst, and the rest shall hear and fear, and shall never again commit any such evil among you. Your eye shall not pity. So don't take any pity on somebody who's going to make up bad stuff. But he says this, here's the way justice is supposed to work. Life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot. And so whatever that person did to you, that's justice for them to have it done to them. That was an interesting way to go about it, wasn't it? And so we need to be careful that we exercise justice as God would have us exercise justice. All right, so here are your 5 questions from that segment. What number of witnesses will not suffice? 1. You got to have more than 1. How many parties had to appear before the Lord? Both of them had to go before the Lord. And what were the judges to do about the evidence? They're to research it and search it out, see who's telling the truth. What were they to do to a false witness? Well, whatever the false witness was going to have done to the other guy, that's what they got to have do to him. And what were they to require in order to assure justice? That's where life for life, hand for hand, foot for foot, all of that. Okay? So whatever was going to happen to the other guy, that happens to him. All right, let's be silly with the cat joke. I got to get new glasses. I got a big scratch right here on the left-hand side. It just doesn't, oh man. Why don't circus lions eat circus clowns? Now, I'm not a bright guy, but I think the reason they don't do that is because then you wouldn't have a circus. You just have lions left, right? Because they're eating the clowns. It just doesn't seem like a good managing thing to do to let your lions eat the clowns. So what in the world? Why don't circus lions eat circus clowns? Because they taste funny. Because they're clowns. You ever been to a circus? I love the clowns. Big nose, big old floppy shoes, all that. They're funny. They're funny. Okay. Now it's time to apply. Apply the why. Doing, doing, doing. Come on, there it is. Doing, 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 doing. I love how the doing, doing of the, right here, the question mark and doing, doings. Anyhow, apply the why. This is where we go back and we make an application to something that was in that passage. So Moses comes dancing on the screen again. I was kind of taken by this idea of a single witness shall not suffice. That's not enough. My question for you, and I've already answered it for you, so if you're paying attention, you ought to be able to write a little paragraph. Why would a single witness not be enough? Why is it not enough for me to say, hey, my brother stole a loaf of bread? Why don't they trust me to be able to? Why is a single witness not enough evidence? All right, test prep. Why would a single witness not be enough? All right, old man joke. I got some dust or something got in me. What do you call it when a snake loses his temper? I have no idea, because if I see a snake, I'm out of there. You know what I'm saying? I don't even pay attention because I'm gone. My mom has something to say here. She's made a comment. I can't see it from back there. Your dad got a laugh out of the lions in the circus class. Well, thanks, Dad. Dad's the funny one in the family, and so if I get a laugh out of Dad, that's pretty good ranking because he's the jokester. What do you call it when a snake loses his temper? Hey, Dad, what do you call it when a snake loses his temper? A hissy fit. Hissy fit. That's not quite as funny as the clown joke, but I still thought it was kind of funny. All right, guys. Here comes our horse buddy. You know, the one who never pays attention? There he is. Oh, dear. He says, oh, dear. It's time to test, and I hadn't even paid attention. Here, my friends, are your test questions for this fine lesson. As you will notice, there are 10 of them, as there are every week. I try to do 10 because that way it's easy for you to figure out how you did. You know, every question's worth 10 points. Right. So let's say you missed 3 of them. That's 30 points. That means I got a 70. That's what, a C? You don't want to miss too many more than that. Mom says he said he liked that one too. Well, thank you, Dad. He liked that joke also. There you go, guys. What's the theme of 19 to 25? Laws of protection. Very good. Can you do to the picture? I don't know. And what's the minimum? Yeah, you can see them all there. Do I have to read them all to you? All right. What is the minimum number of witnesses? 1. I mean 2, not 2. What is the minimum number? You had to have at least 2. Can you quote the memory verse? I don't know. Can you? What number of witnesses will not suffice? That's the 1. You got to have more than 1. And how many parties had to appear before the Lord? Both of them. What were the judges to do about the evidence? They're to research it, right? And what were they to do to a false witness? Whatever that guy was going to do to his brother. And what were they to require in order to assure justice? Life for life, hand for hand, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, all that kind of thing. And why would a single witness be enough? Not be enough. There you go. Those are your questions. Man, I don't know what got in me, but all of a sudden, I think I swallowed a dust bunny. Why do they call them dust bunnies? Well, my friends, it's time to go. I'm Sonny Childs. Ho, ho, ho. Glad to have you with me. I love you, and I appreciate you for being here. Be there. Matthew 16:26.